So you think that Democrats, or you might think that Democrats in Congress could see some kind of boost in the polls on this subject. You might think that, but you'd be wrong. With us this morning, CNN Chief Data Analyst.
Whatever, man.
I'm tongue-tied because actually these numbers surprise me. I was looking at them and I am surprised that they are like this. So who do the voters say they trust on Iran?
Johnny B is not the only one who's surprised. You would be looking at all the news coverage, you'd be looking at all the polling of President Trump, and you would think that Democrats would be able to take advantage and be dominating Republicans when it comes to who is trusted to handle the Iran war. That, simply put, is not the case at all. I mean, these numbers are quite surprising. Trust Dems or Republicans on Iran. According to CNBC earlier this month, you'd think, okay, that's one poll. The Republicans trusted by 2 points. But then CBS News comes out yesterday, and what do you see? You see the exact same thing. Trump and the Republicans take the cake. They are trusted by 2 points on Iran. Now, one poll is one thing, but you put the two of them together, and you can see that the American people, simply put, are not buying what Democrats are selling on Iran. They still trust Republicans more, even if you look at President Trump's approval ratings on the subject, and they're negative too, but yet Republicans and Trump still more trusted than Democrats are in Iran.
Has there been any change over time?
No, and this is even more surprising, right? You might think, okay, as the war has gone on and on and on, you might think, hey, the Democrats would be gaining ground in terms of trust that the American people would give them on Iran. If anything, it's the opposite. It's the opposite. Trust Democrats or Republicans more in Iran. In April, according to a Washington Post Ipsos poll, the Democrats were more trusted by 2 points. Again, close margin, no clear leader. But look where the shift has been. If anything, the shift has been in the Republican direction. Now the Republicans and Donald Trump are trusted more by 2 points on Iran. So, again, over the course of the war, if anything, the Republicans have been the ones that have been gaining ground, which I think just goes so opposed to all of the news coverage that we have seen so far and all of, the media. You would think, hey, but no, the American people are actually trusting the Republicans and Trump, if anything, more now than they were, let's say, halfway through the war.
So how possible is it that part of this is just that Americans don't like Democrats in Congress much at all?
Yeah, I think this is a big part of it. The Democratic Party in the minds of the American public are weak, to quote the great Tony Blair. I mean, just look at this. Just look at these net approval ratings of Democrats in Congress. In late February, at the beginning of the war, it was minus 41 points, minus 39, minus 39. And so you're just looking at these numbers right here, and you go to yourself, no wonder what's going on at this point, that Democrats, simply put, cannot take the ball and run with it and actually in the polls be trusted more than Iran, because the Democrats in Congress, simply put, are not well liked. In fact, these are the three lowest on record in terms of percentage points for the approval for Democrats in Congress. So it all puts together a picture. Donald Trump and Republicans may not be liked, but Democrats in Congress are really hated.
A lot of this is D on D crime. I mean, there are Democrats who are unhappy with their own party, who Democrats hope might vote for them anyway in November.
It'd be much easier if they were, actually liked.
Well, the biggest advantage that the Democrats have always had, of course, is the uniform and total support of the crazy leftist media in this country. Right? They've always had the support of the big broadcast networks, the print newspapers, and a large portion of
all your friends at CNN and MSDNC.
And a large portion of cable, too, Sean, exactly. But the American people are learning, and you see it reflected in the polls. Democrats' approval has never been lower, and in large part because President Trump has exposed them for who they are. They're not liberal. They're not just left-wing. They're radical left, crazy communists. They're opening up government-run grocery stores to undercut mom-and-pop stores. They are talking about abolishing the prison and jail system in this country so that everybody lives at the mercy of the predators in the street. No borders, no ICE, no police, no law enforcement, taxes through the roof, regulate companies out of existence, regulate energy out of existence, grind the economy into dust. You'll be lucky if you have a windmill, and that's about it, Sean.
On the Fringe with Dan, RadioStyle. Hope everybody out there's having themselves a great day. And we've got so much going on. It's insane, man. Oh, there's so much happening. The left is losing it. They're actually, so the one thing that the left always had that made them strong was they were unified. But they are no longer unified. They're trying desperately to unify behind the progressive communist part of the party, and this was always the plan of the party, so they're starting to try to bend everybody in. But a lot of people are like, whoa, no. I'm not ready for this. No, I'm all about, yay, gay people, have a parade. I'm not about like this. No. We're having a mass wake up. The Dems, not everybody's shifting to the Dems. All these people that are like, they're going to win the next election. You guys are still thinking in yesterday terms. There is not just a Republican Party. There's not just a Democrat Party, but there's also these variant rainbow colors in between. And it is going to be the people that are more centrist that are going to win the day. Period. Now, whether they pretend to be that way and are that way are two different things, but generally speaking, nobody's really been able to fake us too well anymore because they've got history, and most of them aren't good enough about cleaning it up, and maybe, questionably, whether or not they even can. I want to play a moment of Lindsey Graham's progression in because it answered one of the questions I brought up a while ago, which is good. It's a good answer, and based off everything I've been hearing, Lindsey Graham sounds like he's a pretty bang-up guy. He was way too war hawk for me, and I think that was a big thing I had a hard time getting past, I guess, right? You know, some of us have our confirmation biases. War is something I'm not really fond of having to kill other humans on this planet unless, you know, there's a really good reason for it. That said. Let the record reflect that there are next to 0 wrinkles on this flag. So, obviously a patriotic burial. And again, prayers to the family, prayers to the lost, to anyone. I don't think he had anyone super close to him. I don't know if he had kids. I don't think he was married. I don't know what's up with Graham, but yeah, he was an interesting feller. He was definitely pro-Trump, and he was pro this country, and he was pro blowing people up. Didn't care what country, didn't care what war. He was all about it. I think he was making money on the back end on a lot of that stuff. That's also one of the things I had a hard time with him on. But he's being allowed to check out gracefully and respectfully, and I like that. I think that's wonderful. They're going to name a base after him. It was Joint Base Charleston. It's going to be renamed in honor of the late Senator Lindsey Graham, so that's kind of cool. And he was in the service, I believe, Air Force, yeah. So he put in his time. He's actually one of the few politicians that, you know, put his money where his mouth was, if you will. Well, it was before his mouth was being used for that, but he had put his mouth where his money would soon follow. How about that? We'll put it that way. Former Assistant Attorney General for Environment Jeff Clark is arguing that by law, Joe Biden, with the storing classified documents and also giving classified documents and talking about classified things with somebody that wasn't cleared for classified briefings, sharing that information, that all of these things actually go against a very specific piece of code. I pulled it up. There it is. 18 USC 798. And he specifically calls out subsection D. Subsection D is way down here. And this is any person convicted of a violation of this section shall forfeit to the United States, irrespective of any provision of state law. So it doesn't matter what state says. Any property constituting or derived from any proceeds that person obtained directly or indirectly as a result of such violation. Also, any of the person's property used or intended to be used in any manner or part to commit or to facilitate the commission of such violation. What this implies is he did the interview at a specific residence, the Delaware residence where he's pulling the Corvette out of, that had all the boxes in there that were classified. That residence, as well as the money he was given for the book, should be forfeited. Now, I was initially thinking like, whoa, they're going to try to apply this to Trump. But what's kind of different about this is Trump was a president, first off. Biden wasn't when he took these classified documents. He was not a president, and he didn't have the ability to declassify information. Trump does and did. And so the documents he had were declassified, just by the nature that he removed them from the facility, period. And in most cases, they were just the folders. He just had folders to remind him with nothing in them. But even that was top secret. But he declassified. And so they would want to go after him. But see, Trump wasn't doing interviews. Trump wasn't making money off of the classified information. Trump just had Mementos. Biden was writing a book. And that is a giant ass difference. So Cornell law would suggest, based off of the reading of that section of law, and I don't want to read it all, but I actually did, 18 U.S.C. Code 798, disclosure of classified information. Yeah, it goes into it willingly, and then it breaks it down and gives you the definitions. Anyway, I don't want to. Frankly, I'm saving you from the boredom that you probably don't want. Powerful quake has rocked southern Japan. What's interesting about this one, first off, it is a big quake. You know me, I always like bitch slap people for, it's 4.2. All right, whatever. You're lucky if you felt it. Shut up. 6.8 is a fucking earthquake, man. That, no matter what, you are aware of. It's crazy. We got some imagery and videos to share. Definitely some damage, and that was the part that kind of caught me off guard. Japan they're like California. We got a lot of earthquakes in California. Japan gets a lot of earthquakes. Both of us build everything to an earthquake standard. We do, because we get a lot of earthquakes. It's going to happen. Guaranteed. Not even worried about it. Promise you. If you live in California for any length of time, you will experience an earthquake at some point. Oh, the first one freaks you out all the time. Just like I'm sure the first tornado. No, those are always scary, aren't they? Fuck those things. Earthquakes generally are okay unless it's a big one. And then that's what everybody does. They sit in bed, because they always happen at like 2 in the morning for some stupid reason. I have no idea why. But you're like in bed and you're like, is this the big one? Do I need to get out of bed for this? And it's like, and you're like, fuck, fine. You know, and you're up. I'm up now. Might as well get out of bed. I should put a coffee maker over in the little area where I would go for my earthquakes, right? Just like sitting there drinking coffee. It's like, wow, I'm here. But yeah, I just fudged up a lot of stuff. Broke down this mall pretty bad. This is catastrophic, frankly. A mall. This blew my mind. This was the one that really, really blew my mind. Like, it destroyed a mall. That shouldn't have happened unless a gas leak happened and it blew out something maybe. Like, okay, I don't know. Like this, I have a hard time with this. I have a hard time with Japanese engineering, first off. They're notoriously good. Still notoriously good. So yeah, this damage, I think I don't know what this is. Yeah, it's just damage. Lots of damage. Well, that guy can pee really far. Holy crap. Yeah, that's just craziness what's going on. Craziness. So yeah, prayers out obviously to everybody. One thing I want to point out, and I just thought this was super cool, there are immigrants that made this great country. And there's a lot of amazing immigrants that are here right now. And a lot of the ones that are the greatest, hands down, unquestionably, are the ones that want to become citizens. Legal immigrants. This is how a legal immigrant party goes. This individual, I'm not quite sure if it's Cuba or possibly somewhere maybe south of the border here. I mean, I guess Cuba technically is too, but maybe in the Central Americas, Mexico, so who knows. But this individual was their family celebrating this with a inflatable Trump, and the guy is like handing him his papers. It's very cool, and I just think this points out kind of the reality of people that legally come here. They want to be American. And therefore are American, by the way. So you get the point. Now, again, I get there's a lot of people that want to come here, want a better life, want to be able to help their family. There's better work opportunities here. All those things are true. You're 100% right. That does not entitle you to free shit. That does not entitle you to citizenship. That does not entitle you to a vote. That doesn't entitle you to shit. That's great. You're doing all that stuff. I love you. What you do need to have to also do is want to be a part of this country. You want to be American. You're not somebody from some other country trying to help your family. You're somebody that is America first. I want to be America. I left such and such a place because it sucked. And for the most part, I'm always going to be from there, but I'm telling you my allegiance, and I'm pledging it, is to this great, wonderful country, these United States of America. Now, again, that's whether it's the corporation or the actual entity. Obviously, you could tell when I said it. It was camel case. It was not capital letters the way I said it. I can't fucking tell, can you? No. I'm not very good at reading capital letters unless you scream them. Doesn't help. So, breaking news, Donald Trump posted this. The failing New York Times, after 10 years of harassment, slander, and libel, just failed again in their desperate attempt to have our powerful defamation lawsuit against them dropped. As we requested, the highly respected judge has called for an updated complaint, which will lay out in extreme detail all the ways in which the Times has repeatedly and consistently acted with actual malice in defaming me, my family, our great MAGA movements, and America itself. We will continue to hold the Times and their comrades in the mainstream media accountable for publishing, promoting, and dealing in Fox News. Thank you for your attention to this matter, President Donald J. Trump. Democrat Arizona Governor Katie Hobbs, she got ratioed hard in X because she posted in X and took credit for the no tax on tips rule. And she got rolled on her concept of the rule. And I don't mean the good kind of roll for any of you guys who used to do. I've never actually rolled before, but I know some of the old slang terms. I'm an old guy that still tries to sound like he knows things, right? It's just, I know it's embarrassing. Just whatever. People just have to deal with me. FIFA boss Gianni Infantino, he blasted the World Cup detractors. He said, you were consumed by hate, and they were. There's a whole lot of people that did not. That's so why, by the way, for any of you guys that like watch me, like all my stupid, well, it's not stupid, all my great shit that I do some great work. But the music show and everything else, I played the World Cup halftime show twice. I loved it so much. I found it to be very uniting. It had people in it. It had Madonna in it. So many people instantly, by the way, on our side of the fence, it's Madonna, I can't possibly like her. Whatever. The lyrics she sang were actually cool. Like, people come together. Right? Whatever. It's a unity message. I don't care if, honestly, I could care less if they somehow brought back Epstein from the dead and got him to come out and sing some sort of bitchin' ass unity song that really meant to bring everybody on this planet together. Like, hey, you're still an asshole. I still don't like you. Madonna, you're still, I don't know what the fuck. You're like, how old, 102? And you're still fucking running around like you are? Whatever. That's cool. Married to a 22-year-old. I mean, you're richer than rich. That's cool. But what she was saying was phenomenal. And it happens. Some of the people I like. We share, certainly my favorite, Jon Stewart. One of my favorites still. I can't watch this show anymore because it's just so heavily slanted, like in ridiculous ways. But I will forever love the dude. He's a very... It's hard to do what he does. It's hard to do what I do. I think it's hard. And I've had a lot of people say I remind him a little bit of him. Now, he's, obviously a different version of that than I am, but nonetheless. So Gianni is talking about how all these people are pissed. And this anger, this hatred. Hate's a bad thing. I remember when I was younger, and it's funny because some of the people that helped raise me, directly raised me. If you said, I hate, they would, you don't hate anything. Like, literally, that was something that I was taught, which is strange, because most of the shit I had to learn kind of on my own. But that was actually some solid stuff. Now, these same people that taught me not to hate badly, a lot. Anything that Donald's touched or been near to. They hate. There's no stance for the Democrats right now. There's no stance for any moderate individual on this planet that affiliates to the Democrat Party. You're going to end up like Dershowitz. You're going to end up like Fetterman. It doesn't matter. You're going to. Hey, I'm independent. It's always okay to swim in the independent waters. They're friggin' nice. And the Republicans are super cool, and they have boats. They're fucking awesome. They have guns, too. They're actually a lot of fun. You should shoot them. They're fucking great. A lot of fun, right? Over there, you guys are fucking weird. I don't want to be anywhere near you. You kill people on the water because I'm white. That's the difference. They're fucking insane. You guys are awesome. You guys believe some weird shit that I can't believe you believe. It's like, so keep trying to remind people to have an experience with God in your real world. Let God show himself to you and you will be amazed. No, it's just in this book right here. It's been controlled by the Vatican and prior. Let me get to page 700,002. Fuck. FIFA Boss, though. I love it. And again, it's a great book. There's a lot of good stuff in there. It really is. Really is. Everything's on many levels, but if you don't think they fucked with that book, you guys are just insane. Senate Majority Leader John Thune announces at least 15 Republican senators are nay on nuking the filibuster. This is how many rhinos we have. This is really, I think, what we're ultimately trying to bring to the surface. We're trying to force the boil to the surface so we can deal with it. Because it's coming. We know it is. It has to. It's the only way to heal this. We must see the pimple. And then Dr. Pimple Popper can come in and do her thing. And she's hot. She's Asian, by the way. So you know I'll watch that with you. You know it's disgusting. But I'll focus on her. Here's Thune telling us he has no power. I mean, right, wrong, and different, I don't know. I'm not making a judgment at the moment, certainly. I've told him, I've already warned him. Not that he cares, but I've already warned him with a stern finger wagging John Thune. I don't know what's going on. I think a lot of this is theater. I really do. And I think it's meant to keep us distracted because of what's actually happening behind the scenes. And I don't just mean secret shit, believe in space fairies and all that nonsense, right? Space Force is going to send down an angel and it's going to, you're like, no. I think this is just meant to keep us distracted because they don't want anyone to actually do lawsuits against the stuff that he's actually doing. He's building the case. The Supreme Court's going to be hearing something about his executive order. It's already been spun. He's not doing anything. That Ketanji Brown's blocked it. We'll get there. She did and didn't. I actually agree with her decision, sorta. I don't ever agree with Jumanji, but we'll explain. So here it is. I still haven't let him talk, huh? Let's just try that.
You don't have the votes?
Well, we don't, and I've had this conversation with the president many times, I think, as you know, and I actually suggested at one point that his team come up and sit down and visit with some of my colleagues. So they came up, met with about 20 Republican senators, and 15 were no on getting rid of the filibuster. The votes aren't there to do it. I know he thinks he can persuade people, but there are a lot of folks who are this is a hard position for a lot of Senate Republicans.
All right. Majority Leader Thune, good to see you.
John, good to be with you. Thank you. Thanks.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, I mean, they don't have the votes. The reason they don't have the votes is we have a bunch of literal rhinos. We have a bunch of people that are deep state. We have a bunch of people that are benefiting from the cheating in the elections. We have a bunch of people out there that don't want the fraud to stop. There's at least 15 of them in the Senate. There's more than that. At least 15. We got a couple of outliers that are heading on out the door because they fucking suck. And they're trying to fucking burn down as much as they can on the way out the door. Tillis, you pile of trash. Fucking American hater. John Thune lashes out at Trump amid criticisms. Lashing out might be strong. But he says if somebody can show me how to get an outcome, how we get a result, how we get an answer to this, I'm all for it. He's like, we don't have the votes. Literally, most of the people that are quote-unquote Republicans will not support this. And I don't know, ultimately, Trump is the leader of the Republican Party. So this is a process of outing them, and I do think that's the purpose. To out them. And I think that's all he's trying to do is get Thune to do that. And he's just like doing this vote over and over. It's not worth it. It is actually, because it's going to show people on the Republican Party side who actually fights for this country and who doesn't. And we all need to see that. We all need to see that. Senate Majority Leader John Thune, he reacted to President Trump saying Senate shouldn't recess until SAVE Act is passed. He said, quote, if somebody can show me how we get an outcome, how we get a result, how we get an answer to this, I'm all for it. But if we are going to be sitting here in endless quorum calls, I don't know if that is in anybody's best interest. You know what, dude? You fucking do something. You guys are worthless. How many people have you actually really gotten into office that we need to? Very, very few. There's a whole bunch that haven't. You had to do some fancy footwork to get that pushed through, so I'll give you some points, but at the same time, I'm taking some away. Go on recess and give Trump his recess vote. If you want to do something, John, Pussy, Thune, hey, Yara would cheat, so don't feel bad, man. It's cool. It's a cool nickname to have, right? Someone calls you a pussy, wear it with pride. Yara would cheat, man. Right, Dick? All right? Then give him the recess appointments, John. Pussy Thune. And I'm assuming you go down. You should definitely partake. Voters in multiple states will decide on election security measures, including ID requirements. This is my favorite. Yeah, let's put it up for a vote in a system that's rigged. We literally had a proposition-y thing was pushed through for a tax raise that failed by day of voting, but oddly, all the mail-in ballots were pro-tax raise for everybody. It wasn't for rich people. It was a tax raise for everybody. And oddly, that won after. In all the weird late mail-in voting that happens, a tax raise went up. So none of these voter ID requirement ballots, unless you so can overwhelm the numbers, will pass. Again, we have a chance to overwhelm the numbers, but it's fucking cheating. This mail-in bullshit is ripe with cheating. There's examples of it all over the place. All of these counting ballots, it's when all the numbers change. Every example, it's normal. For what? Mail-in voting, yeah, for changing and cheating elections. We're not going to sit here and say that that's normal for the vote to go totally this way, and then all of a sudden, all the votes after the effect in the unaccounted for area all tend to generate in a very abnormal pattern. That's weird. We'd call it an anomaly. It just doesn't happen. So, we'll see. Software vendor dispute in New Jersey governor. See, the Jersey governor saying, a software company made a mistake. The software company's like, fuck you. No, we didn't. We did exactly what we're supposed to do. We're experts at this. We've been doing it for 40 years. What we do is we send you the data. You and your election group are supposed to go through it and vet it. Not our job, never was, never will be. You guys are the ones that actually give the accreditation because, and they didn't say it, but the truth is, a company's not allowed to give a voter registration. That can only be done by the government. So the government needed to vet it, and they were like, no, it's not our fault. Couldn't possibly be our fault. I'm a Democrat. Why would I ever accept responsibility for anything? When I have to pee, it's somebody else's fault. That's not bad, actually, huh? Donald Trump posted this. If it was a rigged election that we must learn from, then never forget. Daily Mail posted this. Daily Mail, extraordinarily left-leaning, extraordinarily progressively left-leaning. A new Daily Mail JL Partners poll shows that fewer than half of American voters, 48%, now believe Joe Biden definitively won the 2020 election. Now, here's the fun part. Among Republicans, 70% believe Trump won. Only 15% say Biden did. Among Democrats, 80% say Biden won. 10% claim Trump did. Now, when you look at that, 70, 80, 70, 80, and you realize that averages out to 48%, which favors conservatism or centrism. This is a left-leaning poll leaning right, as they would say, extreme right, they would actually say. Centrist, where a chunk of us are, large chunk of us, good solid 40% of that bell curve sitting right here. We're the flyover people sometimes, I feel like. It's very interesting when you think about it. A left-leaning poll, and they're that strong on this Save America Act. And think about how many Democrats are voting no. I don't know if I had this story. I think Schumer's like, it's a guarantee no in the Senate. It's like, dude, this is really popular across the board. Even Democrats like it. Now, the one poll that's being quoted by many people is a Fox News poll. So again, a very conservative-leaning poll being asked, an overwhelmingly conservative answer. So don't get too excited about that. But Trump administration asked the Supreme Court to weigh in on mail-in voting executive order. Well, Jumanji speaks. Jumanji said no. We are not going to immediately allow you to move forward with this. But we're going to give you 7 days. We're going to give everyone 7 days to get their arguments together, and let's talk about this. So she's moving it forward. She's waiting 7 days. Again, this is part of the delay factor. Yes, I get that. But immediately allowing Trump to go ahead and move forward is also not necessarily the safest approach either, because who knows what stuff could happen. Now, from my standpoint, I think it would be great to get the post office in line, but I don't actually think it's the post office's problem. I think it's just the fact they drop in and flood post-stamped stuff after the effect. I think they stamp a bunch of stuff beforehand. They probably use real postal things. I'd love to see if they've got access. I'm sure I hope they've already looked at this, but if not, hey, good place to look. Go look at every single post office's little meter that does the stamp, the postage day of stamp, right? This is the day you mailed it. And I would wonder which ones have an abnormal number in it. They're going to have a spike at weird times probably too, because I'm sure many of those are time-stamped. You just have to, because it's the only way you can really segregate between the file names, because you got to keep a separate file per each. They scan each file. So I'm assuming a lot of things happen at that moment in time. So anyways, that information exists. They've got easily the software to scrub it. AI would make it even super simple. We could look at multiple databases and chug through a lot of data that would take many, many man hours and do it in minutes. Hours at worst. Hours to minutes. I mean, you could go through thousands of man hours of stuff. This is where, again, people are like, oh, it's going to take people out of the role of stuff. There's just some things we're not necessarily good at, by the way. When you're like dreary-eyed and you're 6 hours into the day and you've looked at the same shit over and over, are you as good at catching details as you were, say, at the beginning of your day when you had that fresh cup of Starbucks or whatever? No, not even close. Get out of here. So let's be legitimate. And everybody knows the question being asked of Jumanji at this point is, when you think of women, what comes to mind? We leave that answer to everybody. Trump's talking about build more auto factories. He was out in Michigan trying to give them something to believe in, as opposed to the nonsense that their horrible governor has been. Actually, she's been sort of smart and trying really hard to sort of get behind Trump. I don't know if she's actually... Anyway, I don't want to make assumptions in any way, shape, or form, but she's trying very hard to get some good Trump juju on her.
Thank you to the auto workers, the technicians, the mechanics, the welders, the engineers of General Motors, because there's no finer group of people. And it was workers like you who built this country, and now it's the men and women like you who are making it bigger, better, richer, and stronger than ever before. We are doing unbelievably well as a country. We're building more auto factories and more plants than at any time in the history of our country. And someday the fake news is going to be writing stories about it. They don't like to write those stories. That's why they call them the fake news. But for decades, the auto workers and manufacturers of this great state were sold out and betrayed by globalist politicians and corrupt special interests who let other countries steal your jobs, pillage your factories, and loot the crown jewels of American industry from Detroit and all over our country. They were ripping us off, not only in the auto business, but in many other businesses. Every president before me promised to stop it, but none of them did anything. They did nothing. But now, at long last, Michigan finally has a president who stands up for Michigan auto workers and puts America first.
You know, what's funny is the way the world works, the way spirit works. Again, if you actually work with God through your physical world and actually experience that, you'll be amazed. But I'm almost sure Trump is much the same as, say, but I think he came from a different lineage, and he came in a different way. And ultimately, if you can hold up morally on this path, you can be given great riches, especially if you know how to properly utilize them. Now, he's definitely wanted to be much, much larger. I know a number of people that want to be much, much larger. I kind of like sort of sitting, like I've said many times, I don't mind being backstage. I don't mind being a choir member. I don't have to be the center of attention. I'm cool just sitting back. I ultimately felt like I had to because of what was happening in the world. It's one of those moments where I had to stand up and say something, right? Like I try to get a lot of you guys to do and feel, because that was the same for me. I didn't want to get involved. I didn't vote. I didn't give a shit. I didn't care. It was your guys' problem, right? But I started to realize, no, this is it. And Trump was the guy, and I've been waiting for this moment. The moment's now, guys. The moment is now. And we are, I think, doing really well. I mean, there's times where it's tricky, but we're doing well. President Trump signed a Corvette. I don't know if this is because it looks like he signed like a wax piece of paper or something, which would bum me out a little bit that someone was going to digitize my signature, but whatever. So there's probably going to be a Donald Trump version of the Corvette that's going to have his signature on the hood or something crazy. But he signed the piece of paper literally on a hood of a car. I don't think he actually signed the car itself, though that would be kind of cool. And you guys can correct me if I'm wrong on that, but it seems that he signs a piece of paper. Right, they got to put a song in there just so to guarantee that if something happens. I hate that part too. So that worked out well, muting it when I did. Anyway, he signed something. That was a bad angle. There's another one I remember showing, or seeing. I saw a number of those stories. So, Social Security Commissioner, we're going to stay at it after the latest $99 million in fraud has been uncovered. And they're calling it $100 million. They're rounding up. I like the 99, frankly, better, but $100 million sounds stronger. Needless to say, they are screening a lot of stuff that's going on. I think they're just giving a heads up to people. It's like, all right, utilize this at your own risk. If you're somebody, by the way, if you're in my audience and you're receiving payments from Social Security for somebody that's long since gone, or you shouldn't be getting money for anymore, but you still keep taking that money, I get you need it. It's not okay. It's not okay. There is karma attached to taking money that doesn't belong to you. You get rid of the problem, you'll be surprised how many problems in your life start to go away sometimes. Most of us, that's what healing is. It's not just being like, all right, I'm going to think positive thoughts. It's like, no, but what negative shit are you actually doing? You got to stop that. What you send out, what you do is an action thing. What you're actioning is judged and reflected back onto you, magnified. That's just how it works. What you action, what you do, say, speak, think, gets sent out and comes back. If you're thinking good stuff, you're saying good stuff, if you're doing good stuff, great stuff comes back to you. If you're being a dick, guess what? So yeah, there's that. We're going to catch these people. David Sachs put this out. Secretary Howard Lutnick is right. The Kimmy panic needs to stop. They go into just understand we got this. What we've got in the pipeline as far as the quality of code improvement is significantly better than what's out there right now. We're learning constantly. What you guys are doing, training it, is teaching us. They also said Kimmy, what they're doing is actually less sound than everybody's making it out to. If you read Zero Hedge, they're going to tell you that everything that Kimmy's doing is amazing. It's brilliant. Look how quickly they can catch up. They're not actually catching up. They're doing kind of a backwards version of it. They're creating, say we have machining to make something, and there's maybe a couple steps, but the steps actually matter because of the quality of the parts and the way they need to be in order to handle what's actually going to occur. And it becomes a solid piece. China looks at that and goes, well, a solid piece is what we're ultimately after. Let's just manufacture that as one thing. They instantly lose our IP, really. They don't get it. They mimicked, but they didn't actually understand. They can make a submarine. They don't truly know how to use one. They have all sorts of ships at sea, but they have no ports to sustain themselves anywhere outside of local, meaning they can't sustain any sort of excursion far away for any length of time, let alone weeks or days. They can't do it. Again, we are meant to fear how great they're doing. This is the deep state doing it. China is nowhere close to where they wanted to be or should be. And again, a lot of their stuff was never meant to be perfect. China's always been the knockoff champions. They still are. One thing you don't want to get knocked off is your wealth, your buying power. We've got a lot going on with the economy. They've got a great deal going on at Goldco right now. They've got this solar generator that's worth almost $3,000. It's one of those things where you literally can charge something, God forbid something happens. You can charge laptops off this. You can charge your phone off this. You can run some small stuff off this. I don't know the specifics on this particular model. There's one that I used to push that was capable of quite a bit. So again, I actually pulled that out recently. I was having to use that for something. It was, anyway, stupid thing on my fault. Having a solar generator is a pretty amazing piece of life-saving equipment. You never know when things could go weird. You never know when someone decides to try to attack us. They're going to blame whoever they blame, but ultimately it's going to be the deep state. Just be prepared in all ways, in every way you can. Precious metals, they're there to protect your buying power. They're generally really, really good at that. That's how they work. Silver's a little more radical. Gold is very, just statistically, is just held. It's a very good representation of where inflation's at. With all the numbers that have been happening, with all the stuff that's happening in Iran, like just kind of letting the numbers sort of settle. I haven't even looked at the market much lately. It's out of control. It doesn't behave the way it should. There's numbers moving. There's places going. I mean, crypto's doing one thing when it shouldn't be, and then we've got stocks going in a direction they shouldn't be, and then all of a sudden gold's going down too, but oil's going down at the same time. Like nothing is behaving the way it's supposed to. But what is still happening is the protection of wealth. Goldco can help you protect your wealth. That's what they're there to do. They're there to help you in this process. There's a lot that goes in it. Protection, obviously, from the buying power. We've talked a lot about that. Movement through the process, tax-free, penalty-free. It's pre-tax money. If you touch it in any way, shape, or form, you're going to get hosed. It's not Goldco doing that. If that's what you're trying to do, don't go this way. There's other ways to do it. Don't go this way. This is actually literally if you can get to precious metals and stick there for a year or 2, 3, depending on when the treasury notes come out. And when that happens, you're going to want to look at trying to convert at that point. And that's when you might want to consider taking any sorts of hits and stuff like that. This is almost a step to prepare for the likely next step. Again, the Goldco is not going to tell you any of this. All they do is they do what they do, and they do it beautifully. They're there to help you protect your wealth. I'm the one that talks about all sorts of crazy shit. This is what I believe. This is why I've done it myself. This is why I've definitely invested in gold and silver. I mean, I'm divested as best I can, and that's kind of what you have the opportunity to do as well. You've got a lot of money tied up in dollars and stocks. Divest some of that over into a place that's going to be happy. This is not where you want to be if everything's good and copacetic. This is a bad investment, in fact, if the economy's great. When the economy sucks, this is the best place to be. Always has been, always will be. Pirates took boxes of shiny stuff. They never took dollars. Ever. It was always gold, silver, gems. Wasn't it? Arr, matey. Yeah, for a reason. DRSlikesgold.com. DRSlikesgold.com. Get out of that system. Tax-free, penalty-free, up to 10% free silver. You might qualify for that solar generator. And if you call when you do, ask them about the 5 grams of silver. They haven't told me to stop talking about it. So if you can call in 20 minutes and you have a qualifying plan, ask them about the 5 free grams of silver that they might have for you. DRSlikesgold.com, DRSlikesgold.com. Get out of that system. Get some out that system. Not all of it, especially if you've still got an employer. It's an employee-owned one kind of too. You just like pull some out. Be like, hey, I'm just divesting a little, man. Might bum them out a little bit, so be careful. I think there's some rules on how it all works or what kind of stuff works. There's a lot of talk about confirming Todd Blanche without delay. Again, what can the Senate do? Red herring. Is it a red herring? Are they going to utilize that to try to push through some other stuff? Are they going to utilize that to maybe make an amend on something? Because ultimately, we know the Democrats are planning on shutting down Congress, period. Or shutting down the government. Many things are funded past this time frame, but they're going to shut down whatever they can. Democrats are going to, again, take hostage the nation. They keep putting criminals back out on the street. We keep letting Democrats continue to do this to ourselves. Whether or not we get rid of the what the hell they call it? Drawing a blank. The thing where they can filibuster, where they can stop them. DNI Polte has announced that they've fired 30% of the intelligence staffers. 30%. Now, there's probably going to be a little bit of a boost in new content creators that are going to explode in popularity overnight. Pay attention to who those people are. Don't pay attention to what they say. You don't have to watch somebody to be aware of the fact that they've literally grown through the ranks in very short periods of time. Unfortunately, seems to happen to a lot of the people I've liked. Congressional committee issues subpoenas to organizations tied to China-linked Dem megadonor. They've been talking about this a lot. It sounds like it's moving forward. House Ways and Means Committee Chairman Jason Smith, Republican from Missouri, he issued subpoenas to 3 tax-exempt organizations. I mean, they're most likely either not going to remember or plead the fifth. Most of this stuff is pointless, so whatever. Trump's border czar Tom Homan announces New York ICE surge is underway. It started Monday, so there you go. Bummer, that's for sure. Here it is. Chuck Schumer talking about how he's not going to pass the SAVE Act no matter what, even though it's an 80-20 thing literally across, and that Fox poll. 70-30 for sure across all boundaries.
Washington, but one thing remains the same. The SAVE Act is dead on arrival in the Senate. Trump keeps tiring himself out running the same play. Trump knows he can't defend Republicans' abysmal record, his abysmal record, so he whines for the GOP to pass the SAVE Act to disenfranchise voters who want to hold him accountable in November. Give it up, Donald. The SAVE Act ain't going to happen. The courts have rejected the SAVE Act. Congress rejected the SAVE Act. Even members of Trump's own party have rejected the SAVE Act. Republican problems aren't going to go away until Trump realizes how futile this brazen effort to rig our elections really is. Instead, Trump has said publicly, quote, Republicans have to pass SAVE, otherwise we're going to have a shutdown in November. That's Trump.
No, it's you guys that are actually going to cause the shutdown. Trump's not going to. But anyways, again, Schumer. I normally ignore everything that all these knuckleheads said, but it just spelled out the reality. Democrats lose patience with embattled DNC chair. This guy's $2 million in debt, period. They have no cash. They have some cash, but they're in debt more than the cash they have. They're screwed. They're actually literally asking vendors to not charge them until after the election so it looks better on paper, but they don't have fundraising. They don't have money. Where'd they get a lot of that money? Oh, yeah, that's right. U.S. aid, cheating, stealing. Probably a lot of the dead people that were getting Social Security money. Might not actually be any individuals, but might actually be corporations or some weird NGO that got a hold of these things in some weird way. Oh, they do stuff. And, I mean, it wouldn't even surprise me if it was like a mortuary, frankly. Anyways. Yeah, so it's coming. Jesse Waters is talking about how Mamdani is facing outrage for this database he's put out of wealthy people that don't live in their house most of the time. It gives their addresses, it gives their wealth, it gives a lot of information that's probably not okay to share.
Because if you own property in his town, he knows exactly where you live. The city just posted a searchable list of every homeowner on the hook for his new tax. Names, addresses, 30,000 of them. A socialist mayor handing out a Rolodex of the rich in a city that just watched a CEO get gunned down on the sidewalk. Sounds like a hit list. You got a problem with it? Go protest. It's what the city's there for anyway.
I think one of the bedrocks of our city is protest. It is something that has been a part of what makes our city so special, that New Yorkers can express themselves whether they are in support or in opposition, no matter on whatever topic.
Protest? The city runs on capitalism and cocktails.
And they don't support when you're a MAGA person. In fact, they allow attacking of people in those circumstances. And we've seen examples of that over and over again. Who's the kid with the AR that they, back in the early days, that they tried to just rail? Rittenhouse, right? That kid. No, they don't care. People are seeing it. There was an insane initiative that they were trying to pass in Oregon to make hunting and fishing illegal. It did not manage to make it to the ballot, so you guys, good job there. Mom says she encountered an adult male showering in a women's locker room during a children's swim meet. It was a female kids' locker room. It was a transgender individual. A lot of descriptions about the genitalia, needless to say. I'm transgender, and apparently that's okay. And this was here in California. California dead last for economic opportunity, among the worst fiscal stability. They really were. Economic opportunity, they ranked 50th. 50th. This is the worst state to be rich, or make a lot of money, I should say. Great state if you don't. And it's a fantastic state, apparently, if you make no money. But, it's not good if you make a lot of money right here. They charge extra, and you get raped for it. And they're losing those people. Those people, anybody is like, out of here. California's losing badly in all the metrics. LA's water bursts. We had another one, by the way. We had that remember we had the thing that was washing all the AIDS and all the feces out to the ocean, and a bunch of dolphins got herpes. I told the story anyways. I made it up, of course, but still, all the shit was running out there. I have no idea what dolphins, whether or not they can even get herpes, frankly. I don't know. I haven't asked. A dolphin and I, after we had that relationship, we never talked again. It was kind of weird. Kidding, of course. Water main bursts, another one. And it's, they're 100-year-old pipes. Yeah, so why aren't you replacing them? Hello? You've known about them for 100 years. Don't try to use it like, they're 100 years old. Right, so you've known about them that long, right? What do you mean? Well, you've known they're there for 100 years, right? Yeah. So you know you got to, do maintenance, right? Yeah, crazy. Any person that's owned a home's probably had to do either a slab leak, repiping, some point, right? Dark truth about Gavin Newsom's $2.6 billion flagship housing splurge, turning LA quiet streets into slums. What they're doing and what they're fond of doing is they'll take a building in a really nice area and they'll turn it into a controlled rent slum. They'll let a bunch of poor people move in there. So what do? You put a bunch of poor people in the middle of a place with a bunch of rich people with a bunch of nice stuff. What's going to happen when you put a bunch of people that have nothing and mix them in with a bunch of people that, in their opinions, have way too much? This happens over and over. This is their recipe. This is how they do it. This is how you create the cancer. This is how you destroy the city. And to a large extent, force people to move out, which I think is what they're trying to do. I think they're ultimately just trying to get people out. Instead of eminent domain, which is extraordinarily expensive, just run them off, have people destroy the property values, and then destroy the buildings after. Who cares? You want to rebuild it anyway. This is not an accident. This is intentional. All of this. The Democrats, though, I mean, people are seeing this is what they keep pushing for. And it keeps getting worse, all the places that they're at. So a big Michigan poll has come out and found Trump's endorsed candidate is actually beating the crazy a candidate that's El Sayed or whatever. I don't know. He's like Allahu Akbar kind of guy, I guess. Something like that. Anyway.
Well, thank you, Mr. President. Thanks for gracing your presence here at the General Motors facility and bringing jobs back. Yeah, you bet. Imagine if, Mr. President, you have a senator that cares about much about manufacturing, especially in Michigan, than you do. That's a change we absolutely need. And when I get back there, Mr. President, I promise you this. I will work with you to protect our families, protect our freedoms, protect our factories, protect our finances. And when I get back there, Mr. President, if you haven't gotten it done, we're going to pass the SAVE Act. Save America. God bless you.
So one of the key things that really needs to happen from the ripple makers out there, you guys, is we need to remind Democrats, not the crazy loons, stay away from them. If they're wearing a pink vagina hat, or if they have blue or red hair, like, yeah, man. Well, blue hair or green hair. Anyway, they might be a redhead. It's not necessarily a guarantee, but oftentimes. But we need to let them know, you guys literally are putting terrorists in positions of power. You understand that, right? These are people that believe in Sharia law, and if you haven't learned anything about Sharia law, here's some of the crazy stuff they kind of are okay with. This is not the America we grew up in. You might be angry at this country and where we're at. You're wanting to steer it in a completely different direction that's very bad. Much worse than what you experienced growing up. You want your kids and grandkids to have a worse world than you had. And I would say most people don't, and maybe don't realize that this guy's a traitor or terrorist. Probably a better word. Great little moment where this boy is saved by, this is going famous everywhere. This is totally going viral, and good should. This is like a 16-year-old lifeguard. This is California, by the way, and when I've lived here a lot of years. I love the water. I wouldn't go out. You can just tell how much riptide there is. The riptide's what get you. Big waves, all day long. If they're just a normal big swell from a storm offshore, all day I'll go out there and I can just duck under them or it's incredible. But when you've got this kind of stuff happening, where you've got very tumultuous waters, it's the rip curl that gets you. And those they'll suck you right out. And this kid saved a 6-year-old or something. Anyway, I want to play it because that was pretty cool. Just to give context, that dude's standing. The water is 1.5 feet deep, 2 feet deep, maybe 3. Still, you have so much water moving past you and then coming back. It can be a lot of fun, but when it's like this, you're getting sucked out to sea, Holmes. And the way things have been lately, you're shark food. 16-year-old lifeguard saves this young kid. Still continue. I don't want to interrupt. You see how shallow that was? He still couldn't stand. Not from any fault of his own. Because that is how strong the current is. It's like a strong river. Anybody that knows a strong river, you try to rock across. It might look decent on the surface. It might be moving briskly on the surface even. But underneath with the slippery rocks, well, in here, as it sucks out, it erodes the sand under your feet. It It's very fun. If anyone's ever stood on the just where the waves come in and go out, it literally takes wherever you're standing, it takes all the sand under your feet away from you, and it slowly buries you. It's fascinating. It can actually get to the point where it's hard to get out. People. That one little wave. Remember, they were, what, that deep? They were like a foot deep. I'm showing you my hands. You can't even see them. Look how deep it got from one wave. That's how much water sucks out. For any of you guys that have never been in the ocean, it is amazingly powerful. First off, cheers. Black guy can swim. Good job.
Did you ask for help?
You know what's really bad too, by the way, and this is a huge telltale sign if you ever go to a beach and you're just watching and you're not sure what you're looking for. When there's a wave going back out from the wave coming in, that's horrible. It's fun as hell to watch where they hit because they smack up and make a giant little thing, but oh, no, that's horrible. You don't want to go in that water. That water will kill you.
Oh, because there's two lights. You're making a train.
Poor kid lost his trunks, it looks like. Uh-oh. Anyway, yeah, his dangle's not, well, it's cold out there, so it's not dingling right now. It's turtled up, but still nonetheless. Guys, be careful. If you ever never been to the water, the ocean, especially out here, and we're having a big day, be careful. If you don't know what you're doing, it's very, very easy to die. Very, 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 very easy to die. And once you get out there, if you swim sideways and get out of it a lot of times, or if you try to take the waves in, but you've got to learn how to kind of take a wave, get under a wave. If you can't do that, you're going to get destroyed. So be careful. I don't know. I spent a lot of time on that, but I feel like a lot of the country doesn't live near big waves, and yeah, it's not like Disneyland. There's no ride safety expert guy. You're going to die. A lot of people keep dying out here right now. Great picture. Anthony Fauci, what he looked like every night when he was writing in his diary. Dear diary, by the way, you're the greatest. I love you, Anthony. Today, dear diary. Anyway, it's pretty funny. Yeah, we've got Kennedy talking about stuff here, and he's got a good point about just because he's got an auto pen pardon doesn't necessarily mean things, because he can't plead the fifth on something he's been pardoned for. Keep that in mind. That's actually something that's significant. He can't plead the fifth on something that he's been pardoned on. There's no problem with getting in trouble. You have to be honest. Fauci, you lied the first time, but you can't lie this time. This is an interesting conundrum that they have before them.
You asked about the possibility of him actually facing justice.
He's a professor there.
He's going to testify in front of Rand Paul's committee this week. He has immunity against all of the things that he did prior to President Biden signing, or the electronic pen signing his pardon, but he could perjure himself now. So there are many things that he said that we know are lies, and Rand Paul presumably is going to ask him about those things. And if he lies again, then he could be subject to perjury prosecution.
So you only get to lie once, no more. That's what's so significant about this, is he has zero protection. And when he admits to everything we have record of, dear diary, when he admits to that, can you imagine what's going to come? And right now, they don't have a lot of smokescreen to hide behind. They don't have Iran to start some sort of problem. Kind of they do, but not really. They can't really start a problem. They can just disagree with the current situation. Angrily so. They don't have the ability to alter things. Now, maybe the economy, and I still feel like that's a lot of what Trump's trying to do, is to push them into making decisions. If you know you're about to go with somebody and you're kind of starting to take the more aggressive stance, well, you could even be taking a defensive stance, but you're preparing yourself for the inevitable, I need to be in a proper situation, so I've got things available to me to make the most use of this situation that's about to go down, and then I'm going to beat the living piss out of this individual. Kind of what Trump's doing with the deep state. It's kind of like when you step back, but you still keep your hands up because you don't want to just, right? You don't, no. We're in a very aggressive stance with the deep state right now. The deep state is dangerous. I'm not sure what they're capable of. And this is, I think, a question no analysts out there really know right now. No real analysts really know what they're capable of. There's speculation, sure. No one knows.
How about your buddy, your buddy Fauci, that I've asked you about in the past? You've defended him quite a bit.
Look, I mean, I don't know what you're referring to in terms of defending him.
I've asked him about whether he orchestrated a cover-up of the lab origin because of his involvement in making gain-of-function research possible again in China, which he did. He knew that would come back to haunt him, and then basically told his colleagues, go with the natural origin. It was obvious 3 years ago, Scott, to me anyway, and everybody else, that he orchestrated that.
Yeah, look, we've talked about this in the show. I think the evidence in terms of whether this was human or naturally derived, I think the side of the ledger that speaks to this potentially coming out of a lab has grown over time. And we haven't had any new evidence suggesting that this came out of a natural origin or spillover.
The latest stuff that came out about him,
it was disappointing.
Didn't he know that it was likely it was from the lab and go to great lengths and tell people to destroy emails?
Well, look, and I've looked through the emails, some of them that have been online. I think it's disappointing to see him trying to suppress alternative opinions, and that clearly was evidence from the emails. I thought it was disappointing. The part of it that also disappointed me was how much he enjoyed the media associated with the event and his own appearances. I think a lot of us went on the media out of a sense of obligation. It was a hard time for all of us. I know it was a hard time for you. I think a lot of us felt an obligation to inform the public, and it wasn't particularly enjoyable. I mean, I got a lot of threats. Others did associated with that. And so to see those emails where he is evidencing some pleasure in the notoriety he achieved, that's disappointing.
It's not just, it's just outrageous if you read the diary entries. It's tough to take.
Yeah, he didn't expect it. I don't know how he was speaking to his own diary.
Does having a reputation totally in the toilet at 85 years, does that hold him to account for what he was responsible for?
The Tony Fauci I saw in those emails is not the Tony Fauci I knew over the years. I mean, he was a guy who was sober, who was careful about his public appearances and his statements, was always very thoughtful.
Did you figure out the obsession with mainstream media in defending him, and Jake Tapper having multiple dinners and best friends, and what did that come from? And I know people around here that would call Tony Fauci a hero.
Yeah, I can't dissect.
You don't know why.
How people perceive. I think different people had different emotions around
mask, shutdown, the whole.
It was a difficult time, Joe, as you know very well, and I think people were looking for a voice that they can cling to. Maybe they.
I am science. That's why people don't like me. I mean, that was. You're very guarded and nice.
I was disappointed by the emails, I have to admit.
Well, we'll see what happens on Wednesday. Rand Paul's been right all along.
Look, he's held these. I suspect that Senator Paul held on to these emails and had them for a while and dropped them now ahead of this hearing. And, Tony's going to have to speak to what's in those private communications.
As well as every single supporter of him, just like Joe Biden. Joe Biden is a nut. We're going to hear it on his ramblings that are, I think, released. If not, they're soon to be. Same's going to be the case with Fauci. everybody that wanted to see people hanging from ropes, this is that process. This is the public hearing. This isn't necessarily in the court of public, this is in the court of public appeals, but this is not in a regular court. Fauci will never get a fair day in court. He will be destroyed publicly. Not through a lynching or anything stupid. Nope. Through absolute admonishment and removal of any respect ever had towards him. And for somebody like that, trust me, that's worse than any hell you can try to come up with. That will be his hell. These people are not going to survive this. RFK Jr. accuses Fauci of concealing personal COVID vaccine injury. He's supposedly 5 months after receiving his vaccine, had a heart attack, a cardiac infarction, I believe they called it. I'm going to stop that. But he didn't tell anyone about it, and yet kept telling people, didn't necessarily know or not know, it didn't say per se, but probably some assumptions that it was because of the shot. There was certainly enough evidence to suggest there was problems like this. I do find it interesting that it happened to him. So for all the people, I still think it was sort of a karmic thing. I kind of still think a lot of things don't affect us the same way if you're in a good state of mind versus those that aren't in a good state of mind. Then the same Wi-Fi connection will affect us both very differently. I'm just going to say that. Some of us, I think, have protections baked into the fact that our frequency is so robust versus others that have weak frequencies, and bad things happen. That's all I'm going to say. That's why I keep pushing what I'm pushing, guys. I just use news as a vehicle to do that. Upset you guys. Nah, most of you guys love it. Fauci details hot and cold relationship with Trump. Sometimes it was good, sometimes it was bad. Oh, little Fauci, dear diary. I'm so great. And people like you. He was really into the fame. Also keep in mind, somebody that's doing something that's wrong and then recording it for posterity, because that is why he did it, he figured his fame would outlie the bigger picture. So he documented it. It's like Nancy Pelosi in the car on January 6th. That's how these people think. It's not a show. These people, they can't help themselves. Egomaniacal people. I've been around too many of them. Trust me, they're not acting. They're being themselves. They are typecasted. They are central casting, as Trump would say. Anthony Fauci is definitely from central casting. A lot of you guys don't understand what that really means. Uganda declares itself Ebola-free. Ebola-free in Uganda. It's not the DR Congo. That is, I always want to call it Dr. Congo. It's so funny to me. Even though I think it's a lowercase r, of course. I know. Don't get all pissed at me. Just whatever. DR Congo. Dominican Republic, I think is. Anyway, they've shortened it. That was smart of them. That was very 90s. That was very cool. Nonetheless. They're pretty much done with Ebola. It's still happening crazy in Congo, though. The DR Congo specifically. Dr. Congo's out of control. They got so much karma there. And it is affecting a lot in a war-torn area, which I also find, that's maybe not where it says it, but there is I also find that to be phenomenal. A war-torn area, and that's where they're having the outbreak. Huh. That's got a karmic feel to it. Just like certain parts of this country have done some pretty horrific things, and every once in a while storms come through to try to clean away that energy. Some people also don't appreciate the way nature works. And we've gotten past the point where we even believe it's nature anymore. Now we think it's man-made everything. Talk about taking God out of everything. I find it fascinating. It's different, Dan. They got technology. Okay. It's exactly the same thing. There was God. There's no gods before us, and then that changed. Now there's another God, and there's another individual we call God. Deportation of migrants surpasses a number of asylum applications for the first time in 20 years. Austria deporting a lot of people, more than they have brought in at least. But the criminals are starting to, one, be dealt with. Two, countries are figuring it out. We're leading the way. As much as the deep state makes a lot of noise and makes it sound like they're successful, they're not. Spain, 60% reject current socialist government, while 30% find it disastrous. Again, they're cheating on elections. We're seeing it everywhere. Iranian state media releases sick assassination video targeting Melania and Barron Trump. Again, this is a certain group within Iran, and they're doing this only to try to piss us off. Again, Trump, he already called their leader gay, which is, to Iranian people, is you're not allowed to be gay. At least in their Sharia stuff or whatever they are. You're definitely not allowed to be gay. Nobody can know about it anyway. Secret gay, I guess, assume is okay. No, I do not know how Allah knows. Yeah, right? Allahu Akbar, I'm gay. I don't know if they say that right after. Is there an extra word? Does anyone know the word that would be? I know it's actually not Persian, Farsi. They don't say Allahu Akbar. It's actually Arabic. But you say that to it. If you call it, you want to piss off an Iranian, call them an Arab. Oh, boy, they love that. They will be your bestest friends ever if you call them an Arab. I promise you. Kidding. Don't do it. It's like calling a girl the C word. Don't do it. Duck after, because shit's coming. Here's Mr. Mark Rubio. Trump shared this. It's pretty cool. Saying Iran's begging us to make a deal. It says Trump's policy is a head for an eye. Iran's an eye for an eye. Trump's a head for an eye. You take an eye, I'm taking your whole damn head. That's not fair. It is. I feel like you shouldn't have taken my eye. So your head is gone. But I will die. You'll never take another's eye. Because you've still got one more, and you could make one more mistake, and fuck you. That's not happening. War pause holds as Trump vows to destroy Pickaxe Mountain if no deal. Oman's pushing for a Hormuz management plan. They're talking about maybe giving Iran some money. A donation. Tips. Like a GoFundMe, if you will. And it's legitimately not far off. It's there's another one that's in the Strait of Malacca or something like that, where people donate if they want. It helps with the Coast Guard. It helps maintain. It helps blah, blah, blah. Right? So you do it as a good thing. You probably write it off, whatever the hell. Part of the money. Not as bad as I've threatened to blow you up if you don't pay. So something a little more voluntary. Some people can't afford it. Maybe. I don't know. We'll see. China, this is really sad. They had a 6-year-old girl. She had some sort of degenerative brain thing that was happening in China, and their infinite wisdom and the fact that they love to experiment on people because they don't give a shit what happens to them. Decided to take this little 6-year-old girl and use this new therapy to try to gene edit. Did like CRISPR, but even newer. They're like, it's better. It's better than CRISPR. Okay. So they were trying to gene edit this chick. Who knows what they were trying to actually do? Turn her into a super soldier, probably. They spent hundreds of thousands of dollars. It's $860 to be precise. And they apparently put these viruses with this technology in them. And then they injected these viruses into her spinal column. If this doesn't sound like Wolverine being created, I'm not quite sure what does. Needless to say, 6-7 days later, she died. They tried to remove it from the books. This was a major study they were trying to do. They didn't want it to taint the studies. By the way, this is China, where Wuhan was, when the thing kind of broke out intentionally there. Same people. These aren't the people you want building the best of stuff, but these are good people to reverse engineer some shit. China's moral compass is skewed. They don't have a sense of life after, really. They kind of think you just go to sleep forever. Which, that's a fun way to look at it. You just go to sleep and that's cool. But yeah, you don't really want your last day to happen, right? Oh, I woke up. Oh, thank God. Let me help the state one more day. Weird mysterious object in NASA's Mars photo ignites theories of extraterrestrial life on the red planet. Yeah, some weird shit. It's definitely man-made. I don't know if we can get... Oh, shit. Can I zoom a little? Yeah. Definitely man-made. Buck Rogers. And you can see inlets. I mean, this is definitely man-made. Well, could be inlets. I mean, this could be a number of things. It could be a giant long dart. You know, maybe that giants that used to just fucking lawn dart themselves to death. Yeah, this is something definitely not natural. NASA's been aware of some shit. They, people have been there, but that's a big piece of something. So there is nobody on this planet, at least doing chemical rockets, that have gotten something that large to Mars. That's for sure. So, and this is just, even though it goes against some people I kind of respect and like, I just don't necessarily agree. I don't think Tartaria was something that happened just like 100, 200 years ago. I think Tartaria is the original builders. So I think they found this stuff, and then they tried to hide it from us a few hundred years ago. I think this goes back to them, frankly. That's what I think. But, I could disagree with many. A lot happening. I got a live show coming up in almost 2 hours. That's very cool. And we'll see where that goes. I've got some very fun stuff pulled out. Stuff around Anthony Fauci, his diary. We've got some... What else? I got a number of things pulled. I'm not quite sure what we're going to call it yet. That's like usually another step. There's just too many things happening. And I've had a lot of weird stuff going on in my life. Folks, prepare yourself. I do think some weird shit's coming for a lot of us. I think I'm going through my version of it. Typically, I go through it before most. Do it first. Try to shake it off a little bit and then be like, all right, so here's what it's like. Yeah, you're going to be hit in some ways. It's not going to be insurmountable, but you'll feel it and you'll know it. And it will impact you and make it uncomfortable. Not horribly so, not permanently, but definitely it's going to bum out a couple days, maybe. Could be relationships too, so this might manifest in a number of different ways for a lot of you guys. But so, be prepared, because stuff is definitely, it's just interesting. It's things that even shouldn't happen are happening. It's like, how did that even happen? Like, I'm still just perplexed on two things now. Whatever. Every single one of them, there's always, for me anyway, has been a positive baked into it. Or at least that's just my superpower kicking in. I don't know, powdered sugar on a turd. It's the best way to take it. Telling you. Folks, we've got a lot happening, and the world is changing. And it's because of you guys. Your ripples are making the difference. Keep it up. Understand that we got to start to extend out to the other side, because that time is happening now. In this next number of months, as we head into this election cycle and things get crazy, the number of people that we reintroduce back into normalcy are going to be the biggest difference. And this is how I think we're going to overcome the cheating, because I don't think they're going to let us fix it yet. I just don't. Everything's going to be up there, and everyone's saying there's going to be an executive order. I don't think so. I think that's going to be for the presidential election, frankly. I don't know. We'll see. Again, I hope there's something they do. It just feels like it's not playing out that way. We'll see what the Supreme Court does and how they choose things, but God, I hope I'm wrong. I hope I'm wrong. And I'll happily fall on that sword. Pray I'm wrong. Keep thinking positive, guys. If not, whatever. We're going to get through this, but dark night of the soul. I think it's coming. We're doing this together. It's going to get bumpy. Be prepared. Where we go one, we go all. It is On the Fringe with Dan RadioStyle.